I don't even want a girlfriend anymore. I really don't. I don't care about having a girlfriend anymore. And I know a lot of you are going to think, oh, this is all a bunch of cope. This is just how he's coping with the gym girl situation. But, whatever. Maybe it is a little bit of that. But I mean, I've thought about it and ultimately, no, I do not want a girlfriend anymore. And it's one of those things where I feel like it's been my goal for pretty much my entire life, or at least since I started puberty, to get a girlfriend, to eventually get a wife and have kids and all that. But how much of that goal was really motivated within myself, versus how much of that was nurtured within me from society's influence? I would bet on it being the latter, that it's mostly society's influence that has made me want a girlfriend. But I do have a few main reasons why I don't want a girlfriend. The first reason is novelty. So essentially, the only reason, and I think this goes for a lot of guys, whether they're willing to admit it or not, the only reason you really want a girlfriend is for the novelty of it. Because you always see, when people actually do get married or they're in long term relationships for years on end, what you see happen is they end up in a dead bedroom situation where their wife or girlfriend doesn't want to have sex anymore. They just start to grow apart. The romance is gone. The spark is gone. They lose interest in each other. And what's happening is the novelty of the relationship is wearing off. It's just like with any new thing you're excited about, right? A new video game comes out that you're really hyped about. You get that game, then you play that game, and you might have a really good time playing that game, and you might put 100, 200, you might put 1,000 hours into that game. And, eventually the novelty is going to wear off, and then suddenly it's just not fun anymore. You might keep playing the game for hours and hours, even after the novelty is worn off, but you're not even enjoying it anymore. You're in that zone. And I know a lot of you guys that watch my videos, I know y'all are gamers. So I know you've been there before where you're playing a game you really loved, but the novelty wears off, but you just keep playing it out of habit. And I feel like that's how it would be if I had a girlfriend. Eventually, the novelty is going to wear off, but I'll probably stay in the relationship just out of habit or fear of, disappointing her or upsetting her or something. And not only that, upsetting my whole family that would probably be super excited for me to finally have a relationship and be a normal person like everyone else. But yeah, the novelty wears off. And back to the video game example, you may even, after the novelty wears off, give it a year or two, you may even get a sudden spark of excitement again to go back and play that game some more. And it might have some of the novelty back, the next time you play it, but you probably won't be into it for as long as you were the first time. The novelty will wear off quicker, and eventually over time, the novelty is always going to wear off. And what that means is it's not fun anymore. It's not enjoyable anymore. So when the novelty wears off when you're in a relationship, well, it's a big deal because being in a relationship, having a girlfriend is a big investment, You're investing not only your time, but your resources. Because, with a video game, at least, all you've invested in resources is maybe $60. At worst, you had to, upgrade your PC. So maybe you spent a couple $1,000 in worst case scenario as an investment in that novelty. But with a girlfriend, you're spending thousands of dollars. You're spending all your time. And also, your entire social circle and family is now invested in it as well. So you've got everyone else invested in it. And so once that novelty wears off and it becomes a bad situation, it's no longer enjoyable, then it's basically like, emotionally, I'd be right back to square one, except actually another step back. Because I'd be back to my same level of happiness and life satisfaction I'm at right now as a single guy. I'd be back to that, except I'd be in a relationship. So I'd still have, it's almost like I would have this burden to deal with, And I think that's what it really would become if I had a girlfriend. And it doesn't matter who she, even if it was Gym Girl, who's basically, my perfect dream girl, it wouldn't matter. The novelty would wear off eventually. No matter how long it takes, even if it took 5 years, which it probably would happen sooner than that, the novelty would wear off. And some of you could make the argument, so how does this novelty theory make sense when you consider all the dudes that have had one-itis for years? There's a bunch of guys out there, they're still obsessed with the same girl for years and years, sometimes a decade or more. How does that make sense if the novelty is going to wear off? And what I say to that is, well, because they aren't actually with her. When you have one-itis, the novelty never goes away because you never actually experience the relationship. So the novelty can't, the thing is, when you have a one-itis, it's almost like you're having a relationship with the girl in your head. You fantasize about her, you daydream about scenarios involving your one-itis, and you might do that for years on end. Now, the novelty's not going to wear off because, think about it, when you have a one-itis like that, you're not actually fantasizing about the same exact scenarios involving her. You keep it fresh in your mind. You frequently update your fantasies and your imagination scenarios to keep that novelty there in your vision of your one-itis. And the thing is, that just won't translate to the real world. If you actually got with your one-itis, it wouldn't be like that. You can't just think of a different scenario. You have to put a lot of effort and work into creating a new scenario, and you can't create it because the scenarios you imagine with your one-itis, you're imagining what she's doing, how she's acting in a given scenario or fantasy. And you can't control another person like that. Not really. You can manipulate or suggest in some way, but you can't actually control another person's actions like that. So yeah. And think about it like this. I made the video game example, but just think about it like this. Because I know some of you are thinking, well, if you have a girlfriend, at least you have sex, that you're not getting sex without a girlfriend. But, the novelty will wear off there too. I mean, when you watch Prawn, do you watch the same video every time? Or do you even watch the same actress every time? Because I know I don't. I might watch some videos more than once or even come back to a video for a repeat viewing months later, but I am constantly seeking out new content I haven't seen before. And I know it's the same for all of you, just admit it. You can't lie about that. And I understand theoretically you could keep novelty going in your relationship, but even if it's the real thing, you're really having sexual relations with a girl, the novelty of that too will wear off. The novelty of anything will wear off, no matter how great, how pleasurable it is. The novelty is going to wear off. So it's kind of what's the point, because to get to that point, for a guy like me, a sub-5 like me, to get to the point of actually being in the relationship, it is so much effort. And then for that novelty to just wear off, probably sooner than I even realize it would, I'm like Sisyphus trying to roll a boulder up a hill, and then the boulder just rolls back over me and flattens me out, It's kind of that type, it's kind of a Sisyphus type situation. And I understand you could theoretically keep novelty in your relationship if you put in a super large amount of work. You just put in a lot of effort to keep things new, to make it happen. And realistically, both you and your girlfriend would have to put in the work. But we all know that women learn through all their life experiences throughout their entire life that it's not their job to put in effort toward their relationship. That's a man's job. So realistically, you as the man would have to be putting in all of that work to keep things novel. So you're not going to be getting any help. In fact, she will be fighting against it because for her, it's easier to find novelty in a relationship by leaving you and finding another guy. And she won't have to search. Guys are constantly bombarding her, no matter who she is, even if she's a sub-5 looks match to your sub-5 ass, guys will still be bombarding her with proposals for a new novel relationship. So you have that to contend with as well. And which brings me to my next point. It's just too much work. I can't even bring myself to put in the work to find a job, even a basic minimum wage job. Which, I mean, if you keep up with my channel, I've kind of explained how finding any job is pretty much hopeless at this point. Not just for me, but for a whole lot of guys. But yeah, people talk about some women being high maintenance as if And this is the crazy thing to me, right? Because people talk about some women being high maintenance as if to imply that low maintenance women exist. And I'm just not buying it. Like, okay, take a gym girl, for example. I know she wasn't actually my girlfriend or anything, and we were just texting, but even that was a ton of work for me. Like, it was so much work. Like, the amount of mental effort I had to put in just to come up with interesting topics of discussion to keep her entertained. Because I know if I let things get boring, she's just going to move on to the next guy to find some excitement. Because that's all girls want. They want to have fun. Like, literally, girls just want to have fun. They don't want to actually work toward building something and getting a sense of achievement and satisfaction. That's a very masculine trait. They don't want that. They just want to have fun. They want to be entertained. They want a man to entertain them. They want you to entertain them. Seriously, though, I actually hope I get another text fling going, or whatever you want to call it, like what I had going with Gym Girl, because I hope I get into a situation like that when I'm elderly, because that kind of mental effort is probably as good as doing Sudokus or crosswords or whatever as far as preventing Alzheimer's goes. No lie, I bet my basal metabolic rate doubled in that time just from all the calories I was burning, just firing off neurons and forming new neural pathways, just trying to come up with topics of discussion to text with this girl. Seriously, it's a lot of work. And this was just me texting with a girl, which is like not even really halfway to having a girlfriend, It's not even being in an actual relationship. So you can imagine how much more effort would be required to keep things going in a real relationship. Like, I don't even want to imagine it. It's too much. And it's absolutely not worth it. Absolutely not worth it to put in that much effort, and then the novelty just wears off. Okay, and here's the other thing. Here's the other reason that I don't want a girlfriend, and this is kind of a reason why, look, I don't think I need a girlfriend. Because a lot of people talk about, you need somebody in your life to be happy. You need that human connection. You know what? I think I don't need the human connection. I went for years and years and years, decades, 35 years old. I went all that time with basically no human connection. And look, obviously, my life isn't great. It's not a good life. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, but I can still enjoy listening to a song I like or enjoy playing a video game or something. So I don't know. Like, I wouldn't even say that I'm depressed, but maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I am depressed. I really don't know. But point being, I don't know that having a, human connection or more socializing, like even on the level of just having friends, I don't know if that would actually improve my life. And I went so long without the socializing and human connection that I can live without it. I just don't think I need it. So I just don't think I need a girlfriend. And in fact, with this recent thing I had going with Gym Girl, that kind of gave me a taste of what that kind of human connection would be like. And man, just having a taste of it like that and then having it ripped away, that's worse than if that just never happened. Because if that never happened, I was still slowly, building my tolerance, building up my tolerance for solitude. Then suddenly Gym Girl comes into my life and kind of, sends shockwaves through all that tolerance. And now it just kind of put a major damper in all the experience I've had throughout all the years of solitude. And now it's kind of like reset my brain a little bit into that mode of, being alone and not getting text messages constantly is actually depressing and bad, where before I was numb to it. I was fine with it. And now I'm having to build that tolerance back up. So I think just going, full on with no human connection, not having a girlfriend, not even socializing, not having friends, not having, talking to people at all, no human connection, I think that's actually the way for me. I think that's actually better. So that's actually better than, every now and then interrupting all the resistance to solitude that I've built up over time. So yeah, I just don't think I need the human connection, and I kind of just don't want it. I just don't think it's good for me overall. I think it's better if I don't have a girlfriend. And yeah, that is why I don't want a girlfriend, The novelty will wear off. It's too much effort, too much work to even get a girlfriend and then keep her entertained. And I just don't think I need it from a socialization aspect, socializing aspect, the human connection. I don't need that. That's not going to improve my life. It's not worth it. Having a girlfriend isn't worth it. And let me know in the comments if you think this is all a bunch of cope, because I'm pretty sure I'm not just coping here. Like this is real. This is some real stuff I'm talking about here. I don't identify as MGTOW, men going their own way or anything like that, because yeah, I don't know. I think all that's kind of cringe, but for me personally, in my life, at the point I am in my life, 35 years old, I have plenty of life experience to know I just don't want a girlfriend anymore. That's it. I just don't.